And you're on.
All right. Well, that was our intro. We like to keep it very dramatic. So, what's up, guys? This is Shane, and I'm here with a couple of special guests today. Nancy Mongeau, whose name I butchered more times than not.
But he
And
got it.
I nailed it this time.
he
I
did.
practiced the whole time. And I'm not even going to attempt yours. I thought this was Maria, but that was what Nancy told me. So
No, this is Marahi Flores.
Marahi Flores.
Yes.
So I'm going to try to not get it wrong for the rest of the show. So
Okay.
I'm going to do this interview probably from a half perspective of Shane from Findlay and half parent with a kid in school.
Oh, great.
I have some generally curious questions, and I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. But you're both running for school board.
Yeah.
And I'm real curious, especially Nancy. You just got out of the busy world, and here you are back. What drove you to decide to pursue this?
Medi Azami. No,
Medi drives a lot of things around here, so
shortly after I had retired, he called and said, Nance, I have to talk to you. And I went to his office and I said, what's up? And he said, well, I think you should run for school board. And I said, I think you're out of your mind. I said, I just retired. I haven't even taken a deep breath. And with COVID, I haven't been able to even start my travels. And he said, no, really, I need you to do that. And so I watched. I had talked to Laurie Crampton over the years that she's been in. She's a good friend. And I knew things had gotten out of control a little bit, but I didn't realize to what extent. So I went back and I said, you know what? I think you're right. We need to do this.
Yeah.
And so I jumped on board. Then, well, you can tell your story.
Okay. Yeah. I also not retired, but I did step down from the director position. I was the director for Valley View and Havas Regional, and I stepped down from that position to just be a recruiter for both hospitals, working from home, and I had a little bit of time. I was interested in education, and I started listening to the board meetings for a couple times. So I came to Nancy and I said, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, running for the board.
I said, isn't that funny?
funny you say that.
Yeah. And she said that she was also running with a couple other people. And then one of those persons decided not to run. And so I joined the pack with them. And Nancy and I had been friends for a long time and serving in a Riverfront board together. She helped us separate from United Way and create our own local fund. So we've been
Very
doing
exciting.
things together.
Very
Yeah.
exciting. So I'll tell you the Shane as a parent perspective of this thing is my son started at Mojave a couple years ago. He's a sophomore, but I started coaching football the year before he came up. And I was really maybe disappointed or surprised to talk to so many teachers and administrators who were just feeling lost. They had a couple superintendents over a few years, a couple principals over a few years. They were short-staffed, and it kept coming back to, well, good luck. Do you want to take it to the board? And I thought, what are you talking about? Like, what? Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do, right? And then I probably saw some similar things like you did where I don't think I would want to take things to that board. You know what I mean? So what kind of changes are you looking to make if you get the opportunity? Where do you see room for improvement within our schools?
Can I make one, before I answer that question, can I just explain to the audience that there are many different school boards, and there are whole sections of our community who don't think they can weigh in. When I went to Topak, I went to the Civic Association, and at first they didn't know they had a vote for the high school. I said, yes, all of your high school children go to River Valley, and that's a Colorado River Union High School. And I said, and your junior high kids, by the way, go to Mojave Valley, and that's another board. And then I said, then they have the Bullhead City Elementary School System, which is another board. And then you have Crushed.
Right.
So we have 4 boards in a very small area. So
it gets a little confusing.
It can. So thank you. Now, what was your question again?
Oh.
So
opportunity for improvement. Like,
Oh.
Again, I'm almost an end user. I'm not the student. I'm the parent. So I'm pretty close to the end user. And for me, it's frustrating for my son to have so much turnover, so much unsureness of where they're going, what they're going to have next year. I'm curious where you guys see, your opportunities to improve our schools.
Well, I'll tell you this. I think that one of the best things this group did was hire Dr. Richards.
I agree. Yeah.
I think, first of all, Tim Richards has done this in Florence. He's done this before. So he's taken a school struggling and made it a top school. And I think if we give him the tools, he can do that here. And I think with Sam Dell at the helm of our business, and if hopefully Artie Luxman, who is running with us, will get in, as he has financial background, we can all work together. And that's what I think needs to happen. Instead of this fractured unit that we see all the time, we need to talk about, you and I can disagree respectfully.
Sure.
Okay? And Maria and I, over the years, have disagreed many, many, many times on the river fund.
Yeah.
Sometimes she's won, and I've gone along with the vote. And sometimes I've won. Whatever the vote is, we all support.
Yeah.
Whether it was our stance to begin with or not. That's how you're
And it
supposed to
seems like-
behave.
It seems like people lost sight of the big picture of a good experience with kids coming out of high school ready for the world. It became I'm going to prove my point world in this little
That's right.
board.
Yeah, well, that's and the same question that you asked before, and you're not a second end user. The parents and the students and the teachers and administration, they're all part of this. And we want to make sure that we listen to all, and then that the parents are empowered and welcome to go to the board for any issues, that you don't think that nothing is going to happen or you're not going to be able to present your point because you're concerned about what is going to happen there. So we want to make sure that we are able to reach the parents and get them involved. Our goal is education. Our goal is going back to the basic. We did a training with the teachers not long ago, and they were talking about a set standard. You know what the standard is in the classroom, and it's already done and said. How do we get everybody in the school, whether they have some issues about learning abilities or not, find a way to get everybody to that standard, not lower the standard, but get the
Right.
standard uphold and get the kids there, because then what you said, they're going to be ready for college. If they're going to go to college, they're going to be ready. Their education is going to be solid and firm.
Get them ready for life.
And- yeah.
Life's wild out there,
Yeah.
guys. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
It sure is. It
Yeah,
sure
So
is.
you mentioned Dr. Richards, and I'll tell you, it's not to knock on any of the previous superintendents, things like that.
No.
Everyone probably has good intentions and had some goods and some bads and whatever. Not. I'm sure Dr. Richards will have some things he'll rub people the wrong way with too. But I'll tell you, the one thing that I really liked is that he was eyes forward and he was looking to improve things and turn it around. And I think it's important to note that he's got to have time to do that. And, at the rate we're going, I think we're like an 18-month turnaround on superintendents around here. So
No.
you got to have some continuity. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think if he feels the support from the board, he's not going to go anywhere. I think he has goals and plans, and I don't know them all because I'm not privy to them, I'm sure. But I know I've heard of some, and I like what I hear. He is student first.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, he said, Nancy, that's what you got to do. You got to put students first. And I said, I like that.
Yeah.
That's a good tag. And we want to put students first, because if we don't, then forget the teachers and forget the parents. We have to support the teachers so the students go first, and we have to support the parents so the students go first. We have to take care of our kids. And if our kids aren't educated enough to go into community college, they need to be ready for that if they want it. And you know what? We need to talk about diversity of education, like the Academy of Building Industries, fabulous school. When I went to school, and I hate that because I heard that a lot the other night. When I went to school, we
Back
were dealing.
in my day.
Yeah, and I don't.
I tell that to my football players, and I just see the eyes roll. I'm like, oh shoot, I shouldn't have said that.
Shouldn't have said that, and I just shouldn't have said that. But when you are talking about vocational education and streamline business education, and then you have college education. We used to have kind of like these three. So if you weren't real good at this, you could maybe try this, and then if you loved working with your hands, you got over here. And
yeah.
I mean, I went to the prom with a Voc kid, and he's the only one who had a car that worked. So hey.
Had it in the auto shop, made sure it was going to start that day.
And he became an extremely successful man. But so I think that we need to, we almost have to be all things to all kids.
Yeah.
But we need to at least provide them with the basics so that they can become what they want to become.
I think that's a great point, that not everyone is a four-year university person.
Absolutely
Me, myself, I picked a weird path in life, but I wasn't a school kid. Was not for me, not my thing. But there are kids who are great with their hands. There are jobs out there for those kids, and there's a shorter path to a career in a lot of cases.
That's
right.
right.
It needs to be encouraged all the same way. So I think that's a great point.
Actually, Mojave High, and I think that also River Valley has one, but they do have technical schools where the kids are already prepared, coming out with a certificate to at least get into some of the trades. Pharmacy tech is the newest that they just got a grant, and we have 6 kids, I believe, and the seniors going through that, and they're going to come up with a certificate.
So we do our ACES Awards at the end of the year, and so we do it. Findlay
I know a
sponsors
little bit about ACES.
Yeah. ACES and Traces are our babies.
Yeah.
But the thing that really opened my eyes was some of the programs that they do have that you don't hear about that well. There's a general. I always remember his name is Michael Jackson. It's all I always remember who he is.
Yeah.
But he does a great job out at River Valley. He does all kinds of cool stuff, prepares these kids for all kinds of unique fields that are emerging right now. I coach football with Coach Olvera, who has a carpentry class.
Yeah.
And so there are all these cool programs out there,
Yeah.
and I think that the high schools are in the right direction. And I always worry about keeping them going. Not necessarily that the people won't be there, but that we don't keep the teachers long enough to really build a 4-year program, and that 4-year program is good. Take what's good from it, build from it, build from it. There's too much turnover. There's too much, starting over.
What we saw in that professional development day was a group of very highly motivated and dedicated people in that room. I thought, this is not what I heard about you guys. You are not.
I heard you guys are the worst.
No, I had never heard that, but I had heard that they
were not engaged.
They were not engaged. They were disappointed. They were, and I did not see that in that room. There may have been a few of them, but I'll tell you what, they escaped my attention. And Maria and I were sitting at a table, just mostly listening, but I was listening to the rest of the room, and I didn't see anything but excellence in that room. And I thought, Dr. Richards, this is who you have. These are, and he was thrilled with that day.
Yeah, he has a great core of people for sure.
Yeah.
And I was really amazed when we did those interviews for Educator of the Year, Group of the Year, things like that. How much these teachers did. One teacher would run 3 programs. I mean, it was amazing. Miss Lindecker was
she's amazing.
She's crazy. I mean, it's like I just sit there and go, thank goodness she doesn't get in the car business. She'd put us all out of work. The lady's awesome. So
And does she sleep?
I don't think so. I'm guessing not. But,
she's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember working with her way back when I was chair of First Things First, that 0 to 5 population of kids that we need also to pay attention to. But and I think there is a lot of attention to that group, and I think the high school kids getting left behind. So that's why I wanted to jump on board. And plus, our kids, we went to the farmers market, and there were 2 kids driving around in a golf cart, and they were taking people back and forth from the I think that's a great thing, especially I had just had a total knee, and I went, eh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, the kids came, and they picked Maria and I, so we were asking them, so tell me about school. Oh, we hate this, we hate this, we hate this. And I said, like anything? Oh, yeah, we like stuff.
You
But-
know,
but
kids are so
that's the-
funny. My son will tell me, school, class, whatever, I want to play football. And I go, all right, son. And then I listen throughout the day. And then he tells me a story about his art class. And he had this whatever in his art class. He was like that. And then he went to this teacher, and he had this. And I think, son, you don't hate. You just like saying you don't like it, you know? Like,
Well, that's a thing to say right now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Do you like
So-
school? No. I'm a high school kid. No.
yeah.
Well,
God forbid you enjoy something. I mean, that would
Yeah.
just be crazy, you know? So,
And I went to I hate to say that, but I went to a high school, and I was a poor kid, and I went to school for the social, and I played basketball, and I sang in the choir because you got to go to Canada. That's the only reason. And I mean,
go
and
to
I
Niagara
went.
Falls and do it? Or what?
Yeah, well, no, we actually sang in front of the prime minister, and
Oh, man.
but we were pretty good, I guess. But I did all that stuff so that I could, because school, and I was an all A student because I learned early on, kids, if you're an all A student, nobody bothers you. Just saying.
Yes, that is for sure. You get benefit of the doubt too. So
Yeah.
I did not learn. I learned that the opposite way. So.
Yeah.
So let me ask you guys this: what do you think the role of the school board will be in getting all these things in place, making these things happen?
Okay.
Supporting the superintendent and the people who are going to do the job so that they can do the job.
Yes.
Yeah. And listening to parents. When we were listening the other day, I asked the parent, there were no parents in the room because it was prom night.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
homecoming. I'm
Homecoming,
sorry.
yeah, just had homecoming,
I
yep.
said the wrong thing. It was homecoming night. So a lot of the parents were, I'm sure, busy with their
Yeah.
kids. And but we had this whole group of people. Some of them had no children, were new to Bullhead City, just wanted to be interested in the high school, which I thought was awesome. And then we had a lot of the grandparents and a lot of people whose kids had already come out of the school but were still interested. So we had a good group. And I said, so raise your hand if I said to you, I need 2 people in every classroom just to help. Half the hands went up, Shane. So if we don't do that kind of a partnership, teachers can't teach if they're always disciplining.
Yes, that is for
And
sure.
students can't learn if their teacher's attention is over there.
Mm-hmm.
So there's ways around that. And it doesn't have to be with the professional. We can't put a social worker in every room. Wouldn't that be nice? But we can't. But we need to use what we have at our disposal. And if it's older parents or parents who have the time or whatever,
Yeah.
we should use that. And so I see this whole teacher, parent, super administration partnership in business. See, you guys do traces, and I think that is fabulous. But why can't Maria tell them about what the Aquarius did for years?
Yeah,
What you did.
we adopted Coyote Canyon, where Dr. Stewart was at the time, and we did a school supply, and then anything else that they need, we read across America. We came and read with the kids, so it was a partnership to make sure whatever that school needed, we were right there for them.
Yep.
And so, but this community has that. You have community businesses like yours that they support the schools, and half of that group that was there for the town hall wanted to do it, wanted to be part of that.
So I'll tell you a little bit of a roundabout story. I had met the superintendent, and no knock on any of the, but they weren't necessarily welcoming. They weren't interested in help. They were kind of just, maybe they didn't trust or didn't understand, especially the way this community works. This community is
Amazing.
It is very much driven by a lot of these, Kiwanis groups, Rotary groups, businesses, things like that. And Dr. Richards was like, yes, sign me up. Who's that person? And I'm sure other people were telling him as well. And I looked up and I see him talking to people outside of the school. He's out there, reaching out, shaking hands, getting to know people, getting to know things. And I think that's where a lot of the re-energizing of people getting involved and wanting to make a difference comes from, because they go, oh wow, like this is an opportunity to turn the ship around,
Yeah. You did ask, how we're going to do that. Aside what Nancy said, that is what we are. We are a support system to the superintendent and the schools. And we only have one employee. The board will only have one employee, and that employee is Dr. Richards. We do not influence discipline or promotions or hires or any personal issues to anybody else but the superintendent. And we hold them accountable, obviously, for whatever issues are in the school.
And, I think it's really interesting because I feel like a lot of the times it's just allowing people to do their job properly, much like the superintendents will be to allow the principals and admins to do their job properly, who then allow the teachers to do their job properly. And it just trickles down, when you have this muddled thing at the top that holds it all back, it's really hard to move forward, so I think it's really interesting. So you were talking earlier about being from Boston.
Yeah. Can you tell?
Well, we had a really cool conversation about where we're from, who we are, and all this other stuff.
Before the show.
Before the show, Lord knows I love to talk. And for both of you, have you guys had a lot of experience outside of this community that you can bring back to the school board, superintendent? Anything unique that you think would be something we've overlooked in the past? Well,
I'm an educator, and I used to educate nurses. So I guess I educate adults, some very young adults. And so I was working, but prior to that, I became a nurse, and then I went into social work because I realized I cared about the broken arm, but I cared about Mrs. Brown, who has 3 kids, and how on earth is she going to do that with new infant with the broken arm, that kind of thing. So I went into social work, and I was director of a detention center for court-involved boys in Massachusetts. First woman.
You're saying that's where we're going to find our inspiration for the school? We're in trouble, guys.
No. But it was a very different detention center because there were no bars and no locks, and we kept the kids there through relationship building. It doesn't exist anymore. It existed for 20 years, and it was fabulous. But and then kids, instead of being bad kids, juvenile delinquents, they became more mentally compromised and stuff. So a different group of kids came, the next generation. But I've worked with in some of the supposedly worst kids in the world that they sent to us. They weren't bad kids at all. Yeah. They came from outrageous situations.
Yes.
And and all we had to do was pay attention. James Armijo told me the story one time about a young boy that was constantly hanging at the office, and then he would get in trouble so he could hang at the office. And one day it was late, and James said, "Here, let me take you home." He never bothered. He never, ever didn't pay attention to that child again. Yeah. Once he saw where it came from.
So where I got my eyes opened was a lifetime ago for me. I got a job at the Boys and Girls Club when I was 15 years old. And I remember thinking, the job, whatever, I ought to do this thing. And then you get these little kids, and you meet these little kids, and then you see their parents, or you never see their parents, or their parents show up and they're not in a position to take their kids home. Yep. And it really opened my eyes to what at that time I didn't understand happened in other people's houses. And that's carried all the way over to, I've been coaching youth football, now high school football for, 7-8 years now. And it's very similar in that kid who you're on for, getting a bad grade, didn't sleep in his own bed for 2 days. He wasn't home. He didn't eat. And so until you realize those things, and you can't spend time to get to know those kids if you're too busy doing a bunch of other stuff that's holding you back from relationships. I really feel like
relationships are key. Yeah,
the relationship part of relationship with a student and teacher, and that is every bit as important as learning. Listen, I won't be that guy, but I haven't used algebra since I left high school. So, but I sure remember my teachers, Mr. Dunning, Mr. Wang, those guys to this day made an impact. So. Yeah. And I may have used some algebra, but the joke doesn't work any other way,
Yeah, we all use it every day, Shane.
Yeah. So the funny part is, I always said I'm never going to use it. And then I got in the car business, and it's figuring out payments, percentages, and I thought, oh God, they were so right, Yeah. Then my English teacher said, oh, your handwriting's so bad. I'm like, I'm never going to need that. And then what do I got to do? I got to write all this stuff down. This and that. So maybe listen to your teachers.
Surprise.
Just my worldly advice. So maybe you should listen to those teachers.
It's very good. Very good worldly advice, yeah. But kids today aren't any different in a lot of ways than when we were growing up. We made the world through relationships, and so when you see those kids that are outside the circle, you can say, "Hey, come here."
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Now, let me ask you the generic question that we all ask is, where's the phone fit into this whole world in relationships? How do you function with, the kids who are really only comfortable talking through the phone?
Talking through the phone?
Well,
Yeah.
texting
And stuff.
snap
Listen,
facing, Insta timing, or whatever it is.
Yeah. You should probably ask her. She's younger than I am because I use the phone all the time, and my sister hates that I text her all the time. But I say, Kathy, if I don't text you, then you're never going to hear from me. No. But I can't spend an hour or two on the phone, although I did this weekend. That's why my accent's so heavy. Maria probably is better suited to answer that question.
I think it's a place for everything. And yes, there are going to be some students that are not as easy to talk with. But I listened to what the teachers were doing. I attended the job fair not long ago, and you can see how teachers that were around the kids find a way to reach them, because they're going to get out of school and they're going to get to the real world, and you said prepare them for life. They're going to have to speak with people.
Yeah.
So I think the teachers are doing a good job to reaching and establishing relationships and helping coming out of that area where they just want to do. I have one at home that I know he's in his room because I hear him once in a while screaming because something happened in the computer. So I understand that, but there is time for everything. We come to dinner and no electronics,
Yep.
nothing at the table. So it's just
I
setting
always
up.
say that in regards to football is, well, I promise at the minimum they're getting off their phone for 2 hours a day. So that's
Yeah.
got to be good for them,
Yeah.
right?
That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
That's great. But, speaking of football, I need to ask you a question. River Valley, something's going on there. I don't know what exactly is going on there, but where are you coaching?
I'm coaching at Mojave.
Mojave High, right.
Yeah,
right.
so it's actually kind of I'll tell you, I know that wasn't your full question, but
You know what my question
my
is.
initial is I coach youth football with the Firebirds as a Bullhead City youth
Okay,
team for many
right.
years, and we were very fortunate to have great community support, things like that. When all those kids were aging up, including my son, we made a choice that we were going to go with them. All of our kids were kind of aging into that, and a lot of those Firebird kids actually did go to River Valley. They're Valley kids. We were really the only youth program, youth football program for a couple of years there.
Yeah.
And so I actually still pay attention to and look out for those kids that are down in River Valley playing on that team, as well as the probably 20 some odd Firebirds who are now playing football for me at Mojave. So it's a rivalry, but it's bittersweet because I'm watching, Mickey play quarterback, who I coached for a couple of years. I'm watching, the Alvarado kid play football that I coached since he was 7, 8 years old. So it's a little bit of a bittersweet thing. So
Yeah, if the three of us get in, it will be the first time, I think, 3 Fort Mojavians.
oh wow,
Yeah.
The tides they are changing.
Yeah. Well, what did you think, following that question, what do you think it will take to get both schools to be able to do great in the state?
Well, I'll tell you what I actually think is that we have a lot of we cannibalize each other's athletic programs a little bit. And we have a lot of shared resources, things like that. As we still play each other, it's harder to do, but I really think there needs to be more cooperation between the two. I know that it's a little hard because, like, for example, football has a brand new coach from out of the area. He got here later in the year, didn't really have the time, but we act like there's a wall between us, you know what I mean? And these kids know each other. They play travel baseball together, but then they want to play football, and we act like they can't pretend each other exist.
Yeah,
You know, like we have a lot of weird things like that. And I don't fully understand it.
And with Malk, too.
Yeah, with Malk. Well,
Malk, too.
Malk's a little tougher because it's, out of the district. And so
Right.
there's some feelings about that from both sides and whatnot.
But for a while, they weren't even playing each other. And I thought
Right.
that was kind of crazy.
Well, I think that's a little off. And I think it's gotten a little better now where they do play each other in basketball, things like that. But collectively, we have a great group of kids. Collectively, we have enough coaches, leadership, things like that. But spread amongst the three, Desert Star goes up into high school. That may even cannibalize a little bit further.
Yeah.
And I think to really get everyone competitive across the board, we really need to, kind of pool resources a little bit.
I think
Okay.
so. Yeah.
But what's really hard is like River Valley's a division football game, so it's a very competitive game. So for the rest of the year, it's tough, to cross-train and do all this other stuff. So with Malk, it's not that difficult because completely different conferences, different districts, different whatever.
Understood, yeah.
But I do feel like that's where the opportunity comes in. But it's really tough, It's really tough to.
Like I said, some kids don't go to school to get educated, most. But they go to school for all those other things, and if those things aren't in existence, then.
Yeah.
So, again, students first. We have to think about how do we keep kids in school. One of the saddest statistics I heard was, and I don't think it's like that today, but several years ago I was looking at Topak because they're near and dear to my heart. They're way out there. They have to travel 20 miles each way to school. Why they don't have Wi-Fi on their buses is beyond me. And they don't have a late bus.
Oh, really?
So are they in football? Are they in art club?
Yeah,
Are they
it's
in,
probably really tough for them to.
well, they can unless they want to
Yeah.
walk 20 miles, or they have some parent who's going to pick
They
them
should
all
join
up.
cross country also if they're at it then.
Good point. But so I think about that. But when they come out of they used to come out of 8th grade. Now they come out of 6th grade in Topak. But when they used to come out of 8th grade, they were pumped.
Yeah.
And then we lost 50% of them before graduation.
Yeah.
And the answer, the thing is that there was nothing.
Yeah. It's super hard if you can't be involved, and especially, obviously Topak, I don't know that community that well, but generally our community is fairly low income.
Yeah.
So
Mojave
it's-
Valley is the same too. Sometimes just
Yeah.
the distance. I didn't mean to just segregate.
Well,
Yeah.
and so it's hard. I can't tell you, most of those kids all pile into a couple cars and get rides home most days after football. Now, if they couldn't get those rides, would they still play? If
Yeah.
they couldn't play, then would they still go to school? Would they?
Yeah.
And I hate to admit this, and I've told a lot of my friends this, is I probably would not have gone to school. When I got friends who could drive, and I was like, what do you mean we could just leave at lunch? Yeah, let's do that, but I had to be there because I couldn't miss practice because then my coach would be on my butt. And if I missed practice, then I wasn't eligible, and if then I couldn't play. And that was really what I valued. And, come my junior year, suddenly I went, oh, man, I don't want to be a knucklehead and have bad grades, not graduate, and and, kind of turned it around. But I needed something to carry me through to that point.
That's right.
Yeah.
And
That's right.
that's where all the other stuff was a big factor for me. So.
Yeah. And we have teachers who have passion for, like we met a teacher that had a passion for debate. I mean, a passion.
Yeah.
He wants to bring debate back into the schools. And you know what?
I was amazed there wasn't. One of those things I told my son he should do, and he's a big football kid. I said, man, do speech and debate.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
public speaking.
But
win
right
your
now we
arguments,
don't
like-
have debate.
Yeah.
So I think, my goodness, you have this teacher with this passion, and then you have
You probably have a lot of kids that want to be that. They
Listen,
wanna
they
do
all
that.
think they're master arguers at this
Yeah,
point, so
yeah,
you might as
yeah.
well train them, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah,
some of them are.
yeah.
Yeah, some of them are really good. So,
Yeah, yeah.
Jeff, I know we had a couple pictures. We had a neat thing with the newspaper that had some text underneath. I'd like to see. Oh, look at that.
Yes, Maria Marahi.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I don't feel that bad. I thought it was Maria because you keep saying it still. So,
Yeah.
18 years.
18 years.
18 years I said it. And
Yeah.
We'll show the candidates first.
oh, that's a
Nancy.
nice one there.
there she is.
So we go to this next one here. Where is Artie?
Artie-
He didn't want to come hang out with us today. What's up,
No,
Artie?
no, not that he didn't want to, but he's still the CFO at MEC.
Yeah.
So I'm sure his plate's a little different than
Yeah.
Maria has the luxury of working at home and can fix her schedule. So she'll be working late into tonight, and I'm retired.
And you were retired. So So I can't see that real well. What does that say underneath your names there?
Well, what it says under mine is we have to get back to educating kids, supporting teachers, respecting parents, and we can do all three and maintain a budget. And I think that with Dr. Richards and Sam Dell, we have a wonderful team to be able to bring our schools up from C grades to A grades. We were A grades once.
Yeah.
We were A-rated schools.
Yeah. What does yours say underneath there?
Mine is similar.
You can
to her.
paraphrase.
Yeah, I can paraphrase it. It's preparing the kids for life. Make sure that we are focusing on the kids' education and ready for college or technical education.
Very cool. But do you know what Artie says too? Are you guys that up on the talking points?
Artie says a lot about the financial piece, and of course
He's an
that's his expertise.
So I knew Artie from community stuff first.
Me too.
And so then I would go see him at Mojave basketball games. And he's a basketball guy. He knows his stuff. He's really into it. And I was a basketball player in high school also.
Yeah, me too.
And so I really enjoyed talking to Artie, and that's where I really found out how passionate he was about the schools beyond just being seen as a community member. He's really interested in who people are, what they do, how they work, and I think that's really important. When you see everybody as kind of blank, nameless, faceless people, it goes back to that relationship thing. And then you don't look at it the same way. You don't recognize people's strengths or weaknesses or whatever that is. So
I know I told these guys, both of them, because we meet outside of just the three of us with our campaign manager and stuff. And I said, sadly, this is going to end because we can't do this anymore. We can't talk, and we can't. Once we are on, if we are to get voted in, which I hope we do, the three of us, that ticket. Once we are in, we can no longer meet as three and talk about school issues.
Yeah.
We can meet as three and talk about, Shane, but we can't talk
don't talk about me. Don't talk about me.
only
Unless it's
nice
good things, then I'll allow it.
Only nice things. Only nice things. If we don't have anything good to say about somebody, everybody in the world, then we shouldn't be speaking.
Well, I promise. I hope I gave you at least something good to talk about.
Oh,
so
we
just focus on that. Everything will be fine. So
We
I really think it's great that you guys have kind of come together, found a common theme, things like that. I love that students first. I mean, I think it's one of those things that everyone says, but to really have that be your driver genuinely is a lot different than saying students first,
Yeah.
Especially because, I know we're talking a little bit of politics here, but going into this campaign, seeing all the ads and this and that, and you just hear it and you just go, oh, God, here we go, And, everything I get from the three of you individually, especially as a group, is really, truly a students first mentality.
The kids.
That's where you want all this to end up, is in the kids, getting better, coming out of school prepared. The one thing that just drives me crazy is we just can't keep turning over their leadership all the time. And whatever that is very important to me. So
my largest program I did for the Legacy Foundation as vice president for all those years was Backpack Buddies. And what was that about? Preparing kids for their first day of school and making sure they all start on the same page. With their supplies and their uniform and their new shoes and all
you talk
that.
about a universally loved program. Whenever we say, hey, we need volunteers for this thing, you go around the dealership and everybody's like, what is that again? You go Backpack Buddies, it's like, oh, I'll do that. Oh yeah, I'll do that. When's that? Sign me up. So
Backpack Buddies is an awesome program.
Yeah.
And again, it's always, and I used to talk to all of my volunteers and say, this is about preparing kids for life and preparing them for their first day of school so they feel good about school. They need to feel good about school from here.
Well, I think it's one of the important things is that you can let them know that school doesn't have to be a burden. It really is it's something that you enjoy, that you look forward to, that you don't have those barriers like not being prepared, not having a meal, not having a backpack with the supplies. As you remove those barriers, suddenly you find out a lot more kids are invested in school, versus.
And I was there long enough to see kids grow up, be in backpack buddies, grow up, come back as a volunteer, and now have graduated from college and now they write checks.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Well, I've always said that that's kind of the end goal for a lot of these things, is to produce people who give back and, grow that thing exponentially. That's kind of the objective.
And the whole thing with River Fund is that we help those individual families who struggle, what I consider working people that can't pay for the water pump, because if their water pump goes, they can't get to work. And if they can't get to work, then they can't put food on the table. And so what River Fund does is River Fund gives them a water pump.
Yeah.
We don't have to destroy a family because the guy blows a water pump.
Yeah.
Let's keep them working.
Yeah.
And so that's what the whole premise behind River Fund started out as.
Now, you guys just had a little forum also.
Yes, we did at the high school.
It sounds like that went
well.
well.
At the college, yes.
Did anything out of that surprise you? Were you surprised at maybe the turnout, the resistance, the support? What was something that surprised you out of your forum you guys just had?
There was a long conversation about cursive writing.
I don't want to go into this because I'm probably on the other side of it.
Yeah.
I don't want to use cursive ever again.
Me too.
Well,
Me too.
well, I think it's but it really, for the high school, we explained, you guys, that doesn't belong in the high school anyways.
Yeah,
I don't want to take.
I think I learned cursive in like the first grade or second grade or something.
Right. I said that belongs in
That was
elementary
Pennsylvania
school.
school, who knows,
But I'm kidding. That was just one of the very many. We had go ahead.
We had a really, the greatest thing is one of the persons there was the one that was pushing to volunteer and to come back and help the teachers and come back in the classroom for whatever they're needed. So that was a great surprise, and finding out that they wanted to do that.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that was surprising to me is the strong feelings about unification of schools and the strong feeling about not going in that direction. That was presented to us, and even right now I don't even know what my feelings are about it, but I was able to at least listen to the pros and cons that were presented there.
Yeah, that is a heated one, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It was. It is.
It is heated, and sadly, I think. But and I know I have teachers near and dear to my heart that says, Nancy, no. And I go, oh, well, I have to look into this, because I study everything. So I'm an educator, and I believe in education. So I will educate myself on both sides of that topic and then come up with probably a strong opinion with backing. I mean, I think it's all right for people to throw out their opinions, but if they don't have any reason why they're...
It's one of the weirdest things that I see in leadership or things is that they expect you to have the answer before it. And I really think the right process is to understand the question or concern, find an answer, because more often than not, even if you had a good answer, it could have been better. And it's really important that you are able, and given that time, to make good choices.
Yeah.
When you're forced to be on the spot and this and that, more often than not, you could have done a better job. But people want to prove they're right or prove their point or whatever the case is. And I think that's really important, that's kind of the thought process. One of those things, and I don't want to go back into the muck here, but I watched a lot of the school board meetings, and the lack of interest in other people's ideas was bizarre to me. I mean, I'm in the car business. I'm I'm supposed to be a real pain in the butt, and I'm always interested in people's ideas. I want to know. I want to see if there's something I can take from it, if there's something I can learn from it.
That's right.
And the lack of that, and it seems like the conversations didn't happen or they didn't go anywhere, and it was very bizarre to me. And
and like you said, if you were a parent, you're not going to do that now. You're not going to take a risk and going up and speaking in public for anybody can be daunting, especially
It's
a parent
not a good
who's who's never done it before, and maybe bringing up something that's a little controversial. But I think they deserve respect and ear. And I did explain to the people in the room, and a lot of them walked away and said, I didn't know that. I said, when you bring up an issue that's not agendized at the 3-minute speech, we can't respond to you as a public board. We can't. We can agendize it the next time and respond to you. If it's on the agenda, we can get to it when we get to that agenda item and and take into consideration. But if it's not on the agenda, we can't address you. So a lot of times the board gets looked at as they're not talking to us. Well, they can't.
Right.
It has to be on the
There's
agenda.
so much like procedural stuff that people
Don't understand.
especially like, us in the private world where there really aren't the rules and the walls up and things.
Sure.
We just, we want to talk about something, we talk.
Get together. We can talk together, but we can't talk about any issue to do with school.
Yeah.
And if we're overheard doing that, we should be sanctioned.
Yeah.
Because you're not supposed to do that. I haven't been in public law since I was the chair of First Things First. So that was several years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And so I want to go back to school. I want to make sure that I know the rules, because I don't want to hold you up to a standard that may not exist anymore, or I want to hold you up to the standard that now exists, and myself too. So
what are the processes when you want to speak with the superintendent? Is that something that you have to go through a special channel for, or is that
call the school? But call the superintendent's office and ask to meet with him as a public person. You mean as a parent?
Oh, as a board member.
Oh, as a board member. I believe that the superintendent should meet with us before every meeting, and we should get whatever questions that we have out, so he's prepared to answer them at that
I agree.
meeting.
That goes back to the, why would you want to blindside somebody and get you a gotcha moment versus getting productive things done.
Yeah, at the Legacy Foundation, I used to write to every board member and say, okay, we're meeting in 7 days. Here's the agenda. Please call me if you have any questions about any of the grants I'm about to put in front of you that I may not have the answer to. And they knew by the time we'd worked together for 12 years. What one?
You mean it's nice to work with somebody for 12 years versus one new person every year? What a concept. Huh?
That's right.
Who would have thought?
That's right.
Guys, do you have anything you want to just get out to people before we get here? I know you guys have places to be, and I really appreciate you taking time and coming to talk to me. I'm very appreciative that people are taking interest in the schools and school district. I think we have a great opportunity with Dr. Richards.
Have you seen those signs?
No comment?
No comment?
Well, couldn't miss some of them. So, but I don't know. We don't want to get into that. So.
I know.
So on the way to the field house, I actually laughed because there was a very big one right on the way to the game on Friday.
If you're not voting for us, just get to the polls or there's early voting right now, so please vote.
Yeah, it's super important, and obviously, I think that we all learned over the last couple of years the importance of voting, and I don't necessarily mean that in a national election sense, but in terms of what happened in our day-to-day lives was affected far more than we ever thought over the last couple of years, and now you're seeing it firsthand here in the schools. So
local politics is everything, and I just want to mention one thing. On the ballot, because I got an early ballot, my name is first, and then you want to vote for 1, 3, and 4. That's our ticket. 1, 3, and 4.
1, 3, and 4.
1, 3, and 4. Yes.
Right.
I would say it's pretty easy because you figure it's the 3 unique names. So even Arden, right? So
Arden, Marahi, and Mongeau.
Rolls right off the tongue when you say it. I don't know. I struggled with each one. So. Anything you'd like to say on your way out here and kind of leave a message with people?
Just help us get on the ticket. We want the 3 of us to be together so we can make a difference for education.
First Hispanic to be running for this position. So,
cool.
So we got all kinds of firsts. A bunch of Fort Mojave. We got.
No, I'm an old lady. I don't think that. We have lots of those in the community.
Well, we thank you, ladies. That's
we really appreciate it, and we really appreciate anyone who takes an interest in making a change in anything. Obviously, it's always rooted in good intention. And I think it'd be a great group, and we hope you guys much success. And
thank you.
You'll probably see me. I have recently committed to getting more active in attending school board meetings, things like that.
Wonderful.
And a lot of that comes from the fact that I'm around the school so much. Between the stuff we do with Findlay, my own son, the football program, and again, football is football. I love the game. I love coaching the game. I love the competition. But for us, football is it's way more than that for us. And so it's very important that those kids get opportunities so the football thing carries over into the education. We tell them one thing and then they go to the classroom and they get stressed out because it's a mixed message or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's hard on those kids.
Well,
you know,
ACES
so-
is absolutely a fabulous program too, Shane. I want to thank you. And I was asked to help write those bylaws and stuff, so I am very near and dear to.
That's good, because if they would have asked me, it might have been in crayon or something.
Yeah.
We don't want that. So we appreciate you guys, and I look forward to seeing how this thing turns out.
Maybe
and,
get them back on the show after.
Well, and I'm just going to extend
After
an
a
open
while.
invite to you guys. As things come up that you want to talk about or brag about, maybe if you have some successes or whatever that may be, we'd love to have you back whenever. You just let us know. We will help you get your message out
There you
and
go.
have those conversations. Like I said, we're really just here to have the conversation and
Get the word
you
out.
know, let people.
Thank you.
Jennifer, thank
Yeah.
you.
We just want to talk and get it out there and let people process the information. So
This
right.
is awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you so
Yeah.
much.
Our pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for
nice
being
to
on
have
the
you
show.
guys.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
your time.
Thank you.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thanks, Jeff. See you guys.
Thanks, Jeff.